So as the caption of my last post mentioned, I spent about 9 days on North Padre Island, being bored, being hot, and not having a clue why it wasn't at all what I thought Padre Island was going to be. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. This is going to be a long video, so stick with me. I'll try to get to the point quickly. I had this idea of what Padre Island would be. Water sports and tacos on the beach, and it wasn't at all what I found when I got there. And I kept being told by friends and family, this is the second ocean you've seen in a week. You should be grateful. And this are the messages I've heard my whole life. You should be grateful. Make the best of it. You should be grateful. So I stayed. I stayed in North Padre Island even though I was hot and bored, and I tried to find things to entertain myself. I went to see the ship and I went to the art museum, and I really just wasn't having a good time. And on the 10th day, the day after that last video, it was Memorial Day, and I said, why don't we just drive to South Padre Island and see if that's where you were thinking. Because I had done some Googling by then and it looked like the environment I was looking for. But once I saw that it was 3.5 hours away, I wouldn't let myself drive down there. And the messages I kept hearing in my head were, if we drive 3.5 hours down to South Padre Island and you're still not happy, and I kept asking myself, who is we? I've just driven across the country by myself on my own schedule, on my own itinerary. Who is this we? But I kept hearing it. If we drive all the way down there and you're still not happy. And I spent 2 hours driving circles on North Padre Island, not allowing myself to drive down the south. And finally I realized I could have been halfway there. And I said, screw it. My plan was to spend 12 days on Padre Island and then go to San Antonio and then Austin. And I said, if we get down there, we can go to San Antonio early. We can go to Austin. This is your schedule. It doesn't matter. Who is we? So I got on the highway and I headed down to South Padre Island. I drove the 3.5 hours. And when I got there, it was exactly what I thought it would be. It was water sports and beautiful water and tacos on the beach. And when I walked down to this beach, I started thinking about who was this we? If we drive down there and you're still not happy, who are these voices in my head? And I realized it was every message I'd ever been told. That I wasn't good enough. That my needs weren't worth meeting. That I had to take care of everybody else first. And I sat here on the beach and I thought about that. I just kept hearing that message. If we drive down here and you're still not happy, and I wondered where those voices in my head came from, and I realized it was everyone. Everyone who told me that my needs didn't matter. Grandparents and parents and my past relationships. My needs didn't matter as much as everyone else's. And I walked out into this water and I thought about what that looked like in my life, and I realized I hadn't been meeting my needs. I didn't even know what my needs were so that I could meet them. And I stood here and I bawled. And I became determined for the rest of my trip to start learning about what my needs were so I could start meeting them. And that's what the rest of this trip was.